that she's just impossible to live with, and it's
That
not
she what?
really. She's an impossible person to live with. He wants to. It's not as close for her to get divorced. He just wants to divorce her.
Yeah,
And
but is it a
she might want
mile?
to stay married.
I'm saying, is it a mile of her?
I'm saying not every case is like that. She might be. We had cases like that where the wife of an Amar used to serve, the opposite thing that they asked for. Yeah, we had cases like that. It could be that she wants to stay married, and she's just impossible person to live with. Not necessarily a stuff for her.
Right. No, so I'm saying that's what you have to take each case in its whatever its scenario is. No.
Yeah, I would imagine. That's what I'm asking. I'm asking it's not necessarily across the board.
Yeah. No, that's what. Yeah, I think that's what Tysus is saying. Okay, so let's see. Shaim Yirtza Shaloi. Yeah.
I mean, any shaila that's that's important, or not just about is the guy's donut kosher or not, but anything that's important. It's always subjective. Which Rav you go to, what the Rav thinks of you, what the Rav from the Yontif Shir you had from Mizrach Lamayriv Gedoylek Paiskim. No.
Yeah, but they're not going to change.
No, they're not going to change.
No. I'm saying that they're not going to. Their psak is going to be their psak. Shaila is who you're going to rely on at certain times.
Also, the psak can be psak depending on who it is. Also.
Yeah, depending on who. Yes, but this is where that's true. But here you can't say the Mishnah is clearly saying that there's a set zachin or set not zachin. Now, why doesn't the Mishnah just say, well, it's dependent? It doesn't say it. Yeah, so that's all right. The Mishnah is just saying a blanket thing, but it could really depend. If you have a eved and the master treats him givaldik, he's going to be pretty sad if he gets bounced out. Right? You have an eved whose a master is a disaster, so he's going to be very happy. But the Gemara, it's interesting that the Mishnah doesn't seem to go with that. It's just like either all or nothing, right? All right, so we can continue with this. They say we're on the two dots. Yud Beis Amud Aleph, about 10 lines down. 8 lines down. So the Mishnah said that it's zachin la'adam shaloi b'fanav, right? But you're not mechayev somebody shaloi b'fanav. Why? Because if a boss doesn't want to feed his eved, he doesn't have to, right? But he has to feed his wife. So therefore, for an eved, the Chachamim had said that he cannot, the shliach can't turn himself into an acceptor of the get shichra for the eved because it's a chiyuv, right? Because it could be that the boss will just stop feeding him. No. Just make sure I'm not mixing it up. Yeah, right. Because at any time he could lose his food. So Gemara says Shamas Mina. So we hear from our Mishnah, Yachol Harav Leimer LeEvid Asay Imi Ve'eni Zancha. A guy could tell a master, right? The boss could tell his slave, you have to work, but I'm not feeding you. Right? Obviously, we're talking about Kanani. All right. So, what we're going to see that it doesn't mean if the guy's going to die, then obviously his master has to feed him. But it's just telling his slave. The way Rashi says it on the Beis is basically a slave is no different than an animal. All right, an animal has to do work for the boss, and the boss doesn't have to feed him. I mean, you have to feed him if if he's plowing. You have to feed him. You have to let him eat. But other than that, there's no specific chiyuv to feed his animals. Anyways, so the Gemara is saying must be that an eved is the same thing. So the Gemara answers, no, you can't say that. Oh, my skin and dama late. Say masi yadefel lemazon sefer. We're talking about what he told the slave, whatever money you earn, you pay for your own food. Meaning, I'm not going to feed you, and I'm not taking your money either. So the Gemara says, and that's why this Eved is not losing anything. Meaning, if the Eved decides to work for the boss, then the boss has to feed him. That's what the Gemara is answering. So the Gemara says the Gabasei Gabi Isha. So you're gonna have to say that it's a similar case, right? Because we're talking about we lump together freeing an Eved and freeing a woman from the marriage. So we're saying the Gabasei Gabi Isha, the Amrullah Tzii Masa Yadayach from Mazan Esayach. Right? So he said, the husband says, take your Maisa Yadayach, your whatever your hands make, for your food, meaning I'm not going to feed you. So if that's the case, then an Isha Ma'aloi. So then why can't he do this with his wife too? Yeah, meaning, why he's saying that an Eben and an Isha are two different cases. So Gemara says Isha b'delay safka. So the woman did not earn enough money to feed herself. So let's say it costs $10 a day to feed the woman, and she's only earning $5. So then the husband has to make up that discrepancy. So Gemara asks, okay, Eben now b'delay safka. So if we're comparing the two cases, you have to say that Eben is the same thing. So Gemara says, Avda the Nehum Kreise Lo Shavya, a slave that nama means bread, if that's in his stomach, Lo Shavya. Lo Shavya, Lamari say Lamai Mistoy. Right? Meaning if he just eats whatever it is that he earns, so what's he worth to his boss, Mari and Marse, right? To his male boss and his female boss. Right? What's he providing? Right? Because again, if an Eved let's say it's $10 a day to feed an Eved, he only earns $5 a day, and the boss has to feed him the other $5. And what's the Eved doing for him? He's doing nothing. He's providing nothing. Right? So therefore, you cannot compare you can't put the case of Eved and Isha together. Fine. So again, what we're trying to accomplish here is we're trying to figure out if there's such a concept of a boss not keeping his Eved's money and not feeding him. So right now the Gemara doesn't have a proof. So the Gemara tries another proof. Tashma Eved shegala l'ari miklat. You have a slave that he went to Ari Miklat. He killed somebody by mistake and he had to run there. Ein Rabbi Chaim l'zayna. His master does not have to feed him. Not only doesn't he have to feed him, but whatever he produces goes to his master. So what do you see? You see pretty obvious. You could tell a slave, work for me and I'm not feeding you. Otherwise, why would it be that in Golos, he takes the money from the Eved and he doesn't have to feed it? So the answer is no, you can't say that. No, it's talking about the case where he told the Eved, like we said before, I'm not feeding you. You go earn money and you take from your money and you feed yourself. So Gemara says, if that's the case, then how come if the Eved produces something, why does it go to his master? So Gemara says, lahadafa, means the extra money. So let's say he needs $10 a day to eat, and he earns 15 in a day. So that extra 5 goes to his master. So when it says hadafa pshita, it's pashat, right? That's the point of a slave, right? If a man owns a slave, that's because he gets he gets whatever money the slave earns. So when it answers Mao the same, you would have thought that if he didn't have enough money to feed himself, the Eved didn't have enough money to feed himself, so you don't have to give him. So so maybe that even when he does have the what do you call it, the master should not take it from him, right? Kamash Malan that was saying that no, so meaning, and therefore the master does keep his stuff. We were thinking, the Gemara is saying now, we were thinking that if the Eved Kanani works, right, and he doesn't make up his earnings, so fine, the master, the boss doesn't have to give it to him, right? But if he earns more, then he does have to give it to him, right? But you would have thought maybe not, because once he's being independent, so even if he earns more money, he gets to keep it. So what the Gemara is telling you, that he doesn't get to keep it. Fine, okay, well, Ma'ashnal Ari Miklat. So what does this have to do with going to Ari Miklat? Meaning the whole point of the Gemara is that he says that the Eved is in another city in Ari Miklat, and the boss doesn't have to feed him, but he gets his profits. So what's the difference if it's in Ari Miklat or not? You can make this deal anywhere. You can make the deal. So you would have thought of it like I'm sorry, since it says v'chai, right, in the pasuk by what's the pasuk again? On the side here, right. The guy he killed by mistake. He runs to one of the gullahs, and then he'll live there because nobody can kill him when he's in the gullahs. So maybe v'chai means maybe you have to mamish, not only you have to make him live, not just live, he has to really live, which means that the boss has to feed him. Kamash Malan, that you don't have to, even though the pasuk is telling you that you should. So more I asked, the Ketani Sefer, Isha should go to Lari Miklat by L'chayv Mezanaseh. It says in the Sefer that if a woman killed by mistake and she goes to Golus, the husband still has to feed her. Mechlal D'lo Yamar Lo. It's Mechlal that he didn't say anything, meaning he didn't tell her to feed herself with the money that she makes. Di Yamar Lo Baila Amay Mechayev. Because if he did say, then why is he chayev? Meaning, if the husband told her, go earn your own money, so when she goes to Golus, what does the husband have to do with anything? With the Sefer the Lo Yamar Lo, Reisha Nami the Lo Yamar Lo. And in the Sefer we're talking about where the husband didn't tell his wife to go earn her own money and pay for her own food. So Reisha Nami the Lo Yamar Lo. Lay. So Reisha also is talking about where he didn't tell the Eved to earn his own money. So what's the case? We're talking about where he did tell the slave that he pays for his own food, right? And the wife also pays for her own food. But a woman, the case where the woman's talking about where she didn't earn enough money to support herself. So since she didn't earn enough money to support herself, so then it goes to the husband. So what it says, right? But in the Sefer, where it says that case already in the Sefer, where the husband tells the wife, you take your money, buy yourself food with it, and don't get me involved. Must be that the Reisha is talking about where he didn't tell her. Where it says, if she has enough food, meaning she earns enough money to pay for her food, and he says to her, go out and take your maisa, your daich, and eat it, then he's allowed to do it. So Gemara says, Misapekas ma'ila memra. If she has enough food, then what's the chiddush? Right? Once she has enough food to eat, of course the husband can tell her, just keep her own money. Why does she? Why would you think otherwise? So Gemara says, and this is controversial. It's not controversial, but certainly the Havamina doesn't apply nowadays. Wow, the same kol kfuda bas benach penima, right? Pasuk in Tillim, that the covered for a daughter of a melech is to stay inside. Meaning, and therefore, the husband can't say to the wife, go out and earn a living in a strange city. All right, she's in Gullus. She's not used to what's going on there. She doesn't have the business that she normally has in a regular city. So she's going to have to go around and drum up business, which is not tznius. So you would think that, okay, so she's not mechuyev to. I mean, he's not allowed to tell her to go against the pasuk in Nach. Right? So Kamash Malon, that he's still allowed to tell her to.
Does this mean a person can't tell his wife to go out to work?
No, because I think Fakert. I think that was the Havamina.
That's why Zevi's wife always worked from home.
There you go. Right? That was the Havamina. The maskana is, excuse me, the maskana is that she does have to go out to, when she goes to Golis, she has to go out and earn herself a living. Right?
No, I'll cook food about smell of.
Yeah, so that's what the Gemara is saying. The Gemara's Havamina is that since she's in a new city, she doesn't have any of her, contacts, right? So Mamela, she has to go around in the streets in the city drumming up business, and that's not a tznius thing, right? Kamash Malon, that he's still allowed to do that, right? So it comes out according to this, you are allowed to send your wife out to work.
Okay.
Isn't that, I mean, I don't know if that's right? Could be that's maybe the makar. You want to say that that's a makar that can go out?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what it sounds like. So it says, okay, so now lema katanai, maybe whether a boss could tell his eved that I'm not feeding you, you just take your money, you earn it, and you pay for yourself. Be self-sufficient. Meaning, so the eved gets to pay for his food up until the amount that he needs. After that, the money goes to the boss, right? So Lema Katanai, Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer, Yachal Eved Loimer LeRabbi B'Shnei B'Tzairos, Eved could tell his master in the years of starvation, Oy Parnasani, either feed me, Oy Hatziyan L'Cheres, or I'm going out free. Meaning it's not a threat. Meaning he says, either feed me or make me free. Rishus biyad rabbi. The rishus is beyond the rabbi, the master, what he wants to do. Meaning, so again, according to Shimon Gamliel, when it's a fast, not a fast, when it's a hunger or whatever, famine, when it's a famine, so then the Eved could say either free me or feed me. And Chacham say no, that he cannot say that. It's all up to the master. So what's the machlaik? Is my lava committed the master but yachol. The Chachamim hold that you're allowed to say to an Eved, you work and I'm not feeding you, right? And that's why the master does not have to get rid of his Eved. Umar Savar, but Rabbi Gamliel, Shimon Gamliel holds, no, that you cannot tell a guy to work and not pay him. Yeah, so therefore, since he would have to pay him or provide for him. So that's why when it's in a famine, so then it's allowed. So what it says v'tizbara, high parnasani oitziyani lecheirus. If is it meaning what is this? Either feed me or let me go free. I parnasani, I tenli ma'aseh yadim parnasimi b'ayla. It shouldn't say either give me parnasa or let me go free. It should have said either feed me parnasani, I tenli ma'aseh yadim parnasasi, or give me the money I earn from working with my hands and let me have that money. Right? Why is he saying that that it's all or nothing, like free me or not? Why can't he stay as an eved? Just let the master keep his own food, keep his own money. I mean, the money that he earns. What's the difference if it's a famine, right? If you're telling the eved you're not that he has to work without feeding him, so that's as if he's in a famine too, right? So Ella, Chacham asking, what are we talking about? He says, go. The master says, go take your food and go take your money, buy yourself food. But when it's a starvation, then and he doesn't have enough food, so then he has an issue. Meaning, I guess it's a starvation. So even if he earns a lot of money, food is hard to come by. So he's not getting his food. So that's what the Chacham says. Either feed me or let me go free. Why does he want to go free for? Like this, people will see him and they're going to have Rachmanis. Right? The Rabbanon, Sabri, and the Rabbanon hold, Man de Meracham b'nei Chari, Eved Nami Rachmi Rachmi. If whoever's going to have Rachmanis on somebody who's free, like a homeless, let's say, but he's free, is going to also have Rachmanis on an Eved too. Right? So again, like it's a psychology machlokas here. Who does a person have more Rachmanis on? So according to Shem Gamliel, he thinks that people have more Rachmanis on their own type. Meaning, if it's an Eved, they're like, okay, he's an Eved, he's supposed to be a Nebuch. I'm not going to feed him. But if he's a free person, he's going to feed him. That's what Shem Gamliel says. And the Chachamim say, no, those that are going to have Rachmanis are going to have Rachmanis on everybody, even if it's an Eved. There's no reason to free him. Fine. So we don't have a machlokes. We don't have a source. Fine. So Tashma, Dom Rav, if somebody makes the hands of his eved into hektish, right? So basically, everything that his eved does becomes hektish. So I say eved loyvavaychus. How's he going to eat now? Because right when he does some work, that work becomes hektish because his hands are owned by hektish. So what's he going to do? So I say eved loyvavaychus. So what he has to do is he has to borrow food or borrow money and then buy food. But the point is that he's borrowing. And then he does work and he pays back the people. Which we'll see on our base how that works, because why is that not hektish? But again, that's what he does. He borrows money to eat and then he does work, he pays them back. Whatever it is, work for me. You see that he could say to the guy, work for me and I'm not feeding you. All right?
Don't they have certain chiyuvim to him? It's like a yid, no? We said he's Megayer. He has to do a bris. I mean, this guy's not this Evet Kanani. What?
Correct. He's an Evet Kanani.
So you basically could tell him, go jump in the lake, go get your own foods. There's no chiyuvim to him? There's no chiyuvim to him?
He doesn't have, no, he's waiving it. He's saying, you keep the money and you feed yourself.
Could he do that to his wife?
Well, no, but so that's the shaila here. That's what we're saying. But the shaila is, can he tell the guy, I'm not feeding you and I'm keeping your money?
He has zero chiyuvim to the seventh?
That's exactly the Gemara shaila. That's exactly the shaila.
No, I think Zev has a point. I think that the zero chiyuvim, insofar as he's an Eved, Avdus isn't mechayiv him to do anything. The fact that he's half a yid might be mechayiv him if he's starving. You have to feed him. There's nothing to do with the fact that he's yes, but it's nothing to do with the fact that he's your Eved. That any yid would have a chiyuv for. The Avdus doesn't bring chiyuvim. That's the point.
He's also not your re'echa. An Eved Kanani is not re'echa. I don't think so.
I mean,
Erev Ivri be re'echa, but Eved Kanani is in limbo. It's not your.
You allowed to kill him?
Can't
I
kill him.
wouldn't say that out loud.
Right. No, you can't. He's part Yid.
There's a lot of people you're not allowed to kill. I mean, economically, why would you kill the Eved?
the guy has a din like he is. He has to do the mitzvahs. He has a bris. It's not stam.
And once he goes free, then he's free, right? I mean, he becomes a Yid.
Talking about Canaan.
Yeah, Eved Kanani.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So again, we're saying that if we, it must be talking about that Shmami no yochel Rav lemer lever asayim iveni zancha. Do work for me, and I'm not going to feed you. Right? Because, meaning, what did Rav say? That the way he feeds himself is by borrowing money from people and then paying them back. What happened to the boss? Where's the boss here that owns him? Right? If he's not feeding him, if the boss is not feeding him, and he could and then he can keep his own earnings, so then how can the boss make him into hektish? It's not really his according to the deal. So Elamai, the boss could do this, he's making him in hektish, right? Yet the guy could still borrow, so it must be that a master could say to the Eved, do and I'm not feeding you. So what I answer is it's not a raya. But it's talking about where he did give him food. Right? So since he gives him food, so then he could make everything. Since the boss is giving the Eved food, that means he has control over the Eved and all the angles, so therefore he can make him into hektish. So what I ask, Ihachi, on top of base now, Lamai lava, then why does he have to borrow food to eat? If the boss is feeding him, why are you borrowing food? The Gemara says lahadafa, for extra. Right? Meaning his boss is being cheap on him. He only gives him 2 pieces of bread or whatever it is, and he wants a steak. So if he's going to want a steak, everything he does becomes hektish. So therefore he should not. Right? If he should go borrow. So it says v'leimelei hektish. Why can't hektish tell the Eved ad hashtasagilach b'loyadav? Till now, you were very happy with the food that your boss gave you. B'hashta nami tiskilach b'loyadav. You should be happy right now with the whatever food that you get now. Right? Why should his earnings that he's working for hektish for, right? Because again, his hands were made into hektish. Why should that go to pay for his extra foods? It should go to hektish. That's what hektish is asking him. So what answers hektish kufay nicha like the lishbach avde. The hektish is very happy that this guy's eating more, because if he eats more, he'll grow more. Right? And since he'll grow more, then he'll be worth more for hektish. So therefore, hektish is happy that he's eating more, even though he's costing hektish some money. So then the Gemara asks the obvious question: right? So what is he doing? He borrows money to pay for his food. Then, as he works, he pays back the guy.
I mean, this Eved is an adult. He's growing in which way?
I guess strength. I guess the assumption is strength.
It's either he's eating more or he's starving. I mean, there's no in between?
No, there is in between.
On this Daf are still growing.
What?
Some of us on the Daf are still growing.
Yes.
I'm saying, which way?
Right. Yes. Well, yeah.
More energy he has, the more he's able to do.
Right. So it's worth it for them. It's worth it for hektish. Right? So, okay, but the question is here, how is he paying it back? If every second that he earns money, it's considered hektish. So when I ask Iso Perea, he does work and he pays it back. Kama Kaddish, like every little bit, he's Makadish. It becomes hektish. Right? So how does he go take that, whatever he's doing, and he goes and gives it to this fellow? So when I answer Pachas Mishava Pruta, he pays it back with less than Shava Pruta. Because something that's less than Shava Pruta cannot become hektish. So instead, let's say he's doing work, and every time he bangs the hammer, it's worth a nickel, right? So then what we do is we say, I guess the first part of lifting the hammer, we're going to give him 2.5 cents. So that's not a Shava Pruta, so therefore it doesn't become hektish. Which is
the same as Kama Batel?
Sounds, I don't know if it's the same as Kama Batel. All right. Right. So now the question is,
it's not Kama Kaddishli, it's the same Kama Batel.
Right. I hear. Yeah. So the question is there such a thing as that there's no hektish on Pachas Mishava Pruta? I mean, Rashi clearly says that here. Taisva is not so happy with it. Taisva says that the das of the makdish is that it shouldn't be chal on something less than Shava Pruta. Meaning, according to Rashi, something less than a Shava Pruta cannot become hektish. Finished. Same way, something with less than a Shava Pruta, you can't marry a woman something worth less than Shava Pruta. So same thing with hektish. You can't make something less than a Shava Pruta that's hektish. Right? Taisva says, no, if you have in mind that something less than a Shava Pruta becomes hektish, then yeah, then it would become hektish. Here we're talking about where the guy that made the hektish is saying that it's not he doesn't want the hektish to be chal on anything less than a Shava Pruta. Fine. Okay, so Gemara says, Hachanami mistavra. So we say that this is a svara. That must be that Rav holds that he can only take his slave's money if he feeds him. Dama Rav, because we have another case of Rav, which is a little bit of a stira. Hamaktashidei avdoi. Right. So again, the previous Gemara said if you maktashidei avdoi, then the guy has to borrow food and then pay himself back, pay back with the work that he does with the hektish. This brisa, well, it's not brisa, but this what Rav is saying is hamakdashidei avdoi. Somebody makes his hands of his eved hektish. That eved can do work and he could eat. The Eli Avda, because if he doesn't work, man palachle, who's going to give him food? Right? Again, so it's saying that if a Eved makes his hands, so if a boss makes the hands of his Eved into hektish, so he could do work and he could eat. Because otherwise, what's going to be with him? So Gemara says, if you're going to say that the first case on top, meaning the first case where he said he should borrow money and then pay it back, right? And he can't tell him that he should give him the money. The boss can't tell the Eved, give me the money and I'm not feeding you. Then the case where it's not on top, meaning the second case, shopper, then it makes sense, right? Because you're not allowed to tell, if you tell your servant that he's going to do work for you, then you're not allowed to not let him keep it. That the case where he doesn't give him, and he could tell him that he wants his money without giving him anything to eat, right? Then how could he say that if he doesn't work, who's going to feed him? Whoever wants could feed him, right? Meaning, if the master can tell his slave, right, the Eved, that he has to work and he's not going to feed him, right? So then, who's chayav to feed him? Nobody. Not the Beis Hamikdash, not Hektish, and not the master. So it can't be that's talking about that Rav holds that you're allowed to tell an Eved he has to work for you and not take money. Must be that he's not allowed to say this to his Eved, Shmamina, and that's what we pass. So Zev, that's like what you're saying is correct. The bottom line is the Gemara is saying, the Maskana, that at least according to Rav, you're not allowed to tell an Eved to work for you and you're not feeding him. Fine. So Toshima, right? But now we're going to say that Rabbi Yochanan holds that yes, you could tell your Eved, work for me, I'm not feeding you. So Toshima, Rabbi Yochanan, Hakateh Yad Abde Shechavera. Let's say a guy cuts off the hand of the slave of his friend. So now, nice and shiftoi v'rafuasi. So what he does, right? There's five things that you have to pay when somebody does damage: nezek, tsar, ripui, sheves, and boishes. Right? So Gemara here is discussing two of them. So he gives the sheves, which is basically the amount of money that the guy would be earning, and the money for his healing, l'rabbi. So who gets the money? It's the master. Where's the Eved going to get fed from? From the tzedakah. I mean, this is very hard to understand. The Eved gets injured, and the guy has to pay for the Eved's refuah and his resting time. And who gets to keep the money? The master. But whatever it is, Shmami, no, Yochel Rav Eved. I say so clearly we say that the master could tell the Eved, stay with me and work for me, and I'm not going to feed you. So but maybe it's not a proof, because maybe it's talking about here where the master does give him his honest. Meaning, when do we say that the master gets to keep the damages, even though he wasn't damaged, it was his Eved that's damaged? That's talking about where he actually feeds him. So Gemara says, so if the boss is giving him food, so why does he have to say that the Eved should eat from tzedakah? So Gemara says, La Adafa. Right? If he wants, so Rashi here says, because he was sick, so therefore he needs extra food. So that he gets from tzedakah. But the basics, his master gives him. So Gemara asks, well, I don't know if it's asked, but Gemara says, it shouldn't say feed, it should say mefarnes. Right? Meaning it sounds like the lashon is that he gets fed from tzedakah. That's not true. He's getting fed from the master. His extras are coming from tzedakah. So the Gemara says misparnas bibayla, because misparnas means extras. So we see from this, that a master could tell his Eved that he's not feeding him, and he could keep his money. And that's why you have this scenario where the boss can keep all the damages that happens to the Eved, but he doesn't have to feed him. So Shmami knows, so we see from this that's what Rabbi Yochanan holds. Yeah. So now the Gemara asks on this. So Amar Mar, so he gives, I'm sorry, not shachai, shivtai. What he does is the money that he got for resting, meaning what do you call this? A disability? I guess it would be disability, right? Disability money and the refuah money goes to his master. So when it says shivtai pshita, right? Why is he not working? He's not working. Who's he not working for? His master. So let's say the guy gets a disability for $1,000 for a week. So who's the one that took the loss? The boss. Okay, so the boss gets to keep it. Fine, that's pasha. So it says refuah say yitzrichale. No, you need about the refuah, right? Because why should the refuah go to the master? So when it says refuah say didei to buy yitzriyabe, what do you mean? How can you go say that the master gets to keep the money from the health insurance? Right? The Eved has to heal. So what it says, an interesting case, like Tzricha, they evaluated him and said he's going to need 5 days of medication to make him better. But then they went and they made him a medicine, a drugs that was very sharp. The Itzi B'Tlasi, I mean, he healed in 3 days. So now he got healed 2 days faster than was initially anticipated. So the same with Tsar Didehu. So you would think, well, who's the one that guy had that's in the Tsar? That's the Eved. So therefore, he should keep the extra money. Kamash Malan, that even though the money was meant to heal the slave, but since there was some surplus money because he didn't have to be on the full 5-day medication, he was only on a 3-day medication. So now they have extra money. So you would think that, okay, he's the one that got hurt, the Eved, so therefore he gets to keep the money. So we say, no, he does not get to keep the money. That money goes to the master. Yeah.
Just trying to understand the health insurance money, meaning the money.
My question. That's my question. Now about the insurance, you got to pay back the insurance company.
No. I know. Just trying.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the report. The doctor's bills. What is it? The doctor's bills should go to who?
To the Eved. I mean, he has to get himself healed.
So we say it goes to the owner.
But we're saying it goes to the owner. So Gemara says it can't go to the. Why should it go to the owner? He's not the one that has to get healed. So Gemara says no. It's talking about where they were evaluated for 5 days of damage, and then he only took 3 days of the medication and got better. So the guy that Mazik was Mazik him paid for 5 days. So who gets to keep those extra 2 days? So we say the master gets to keep the extra 2 days,
But
even
the other
though
3 days. But the other 3 days.
the other 3 days goes to the Eved. Yeah, to pay for his healing. Yeah.
Pay for his healing. Okay.
That's why I understand it. There's not a shiloh. Can you double dip? When somebody damages? Somebody hits your car, right? So he has to pay you damages. Nothing to do with insurance. He knocked your car and he owes you $500 of damage. He says to you, $500 out of my pocket. Here it is, Zygazant. But you decided to make a claim anyways on your own car, not on his car. You can't make a claim on his car. He paid you. You want to call your insurance company and you want to make a claim. And the insurance company says, sure, we'll give you $500. You're not mechuyev to go back to the guy that damaged you and say, I got $500 with insurance. Your insurance with your guy is a private contract with the guy. If your car gets smashed, they'll pay for it. Doesn't absolve the damager of giving you money. Now, you're not going to win many friends with this attitude, but facts are the facts, right? He owes you the money. One has nothing to do with the other.
He owes it to you, the insurance owes it to you.
He owes it to you. If he happens to have a deal with insurance, okay, so then he'll have insurance will help him pay it. Right? I'm saying 2 cars get into an accident, and insurance denies his claim. Okay, he still has to pay out of pocket. All right. I'm assuming what happened here is that there was a 5-day regimen for refuah, so the damager has to pay, and for whatever reason, he took like a super drug that fast tracked him, and he only healed after 3. So the other 2 days, that money goes to the boss. Right? That's all. Now, why that money doesn't have to go back to the damager, I don't know.
The super drug made more tsar for Eved?
Doesn't sound like it. I mean, the Gemara says in the Havamina it would be. But Rashi says that B'kol shvach habali yodei zoicha by rabbi kishoyre v'chamoyre. Right? Any shvach that comes, like a shor and a chamor, what are you going to say? Somebody damages your guy's shor. So the doctor comes and heals the shor, or whatever. The damager gives him $100 and only costs him $50 to heal the shor. So what does he do? He gives the $50 to the shor. Right? The boss keeps it. Same thing here. Anyways, okay, we'll stop here. And yeah, I'm sorry. So these dafim are not easy. These dafim to understand this back and forth. And yeah, but anyways, all right.
Shkoyach for everything. Shkoyach.
All right. Have yourself a fine night.
You too. Enjoy.
Zeb, we missed you. Shavuos by night, Zeb. We missed you. You hear me?
I think he left.
Now he muted. Now you
Now-
muted.
Now he's muted.
Zev, the suspense is killing me, man. I can't unmute
Still
you.
muted.
He doesn't know how to
Now all of a
unmute himself.
sudden he can't unmute himself. Amazing.
Yeah, Aaron Eliezer probably did it, and he's laughing his tuchus off.
I'm not. I didn't do anything.
What are you doing? You're making fun of me.
I think Parrots is about to say you're doing a fine job of it yourself.
I knew it.
Paris,
Zev, all Tiago said was he missed you, and then you started going off, but you were muted.
I don't know what happened to my phone. You hear me now?
Now we
Now we hear you.
We hear you. So Tzviakov missed you Shavuos by night, by the
I
shear.
know. I appreciate that you missed him. I missed you. I was away. And
You were in quasi Ira Kodesh.
I wasn't. I was learning in a different base medish.
You weren't here. You were in Jackson, weren't you?
Get the
I was in Jackson, yes.
Good.
I was in Hampshire Hills. Rabbi Martin, that base medish there?
I don't know. Martone from Martone.
Yeah, Martin, yeah. He wrote a sefer, right? Or something?
He wrote us a very nice sefer. It was neither.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a nice island. There was 300 people there.
Wow.
In a pole barn.
In a
It
who?
was in a pole barn.
A pull barn?
You know what that is?
No.
Where are you? Aaron, where are you? You ran off?
Pole barn, not pole barn.
A pole barn.
What?
Pole, pole.
Pol a pole barn?
It's basically, you know, these huge metal things in the back, like a back. It's like it's huge. They have this. It's a metal building. You're not allowed to have any shuls in Jackson. So how do they all get around it? If I own a house, I'm allowed to pray in my house. So in the backyards, some of them have acre and a half of it, so they make a huge.
It's like a big shed.
A metal structure, and I'm davening in my house. There's 300 people davening in my house.
I hear. Interesting. So why can't you just make it in a house? Why do you have to make it in a pole barn?
Because in a house, you're not going to fit the amount of people that you get. If there's 200 people in that area, you're not going to fit them in a house. So they make these big metal structures, like 100 by 200, or 100 by 100. I don't know how big, huge, and that's where they daven.
It's called a pole barn because the frame of it is made up of like big utility poles, and that's the framework of it. After that, they.
I feel like a Polak that I don't know what a pole barn is. But anyways, all right, I gotta go down with Myrif.
Tzviakov, maybe the next scene we can make there.
Oh, now you're talking.